This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the UK's #1 coral selling website, prestigereef.co.uk and reefdork.etsy.com for all your 3D printed aquarium accessory needs. What is up, YouTube? Hello, Spotify. Good evening. Welcome to the Prestige Reef Dork Show. Today, we're going to be talking about the 8 ways your saltwater aquarium can kill you.
It still says 10 on mine.
It says 10 on the software, but on YouTube it says 8. I've had to amend it because Ryan didn't do his homework properly. So.
That's not strictly true. I sort of half did, but let's put it this way, all 8 of these come from me. Yeah. So the person who didn't do their homework for the other half of the 10 was Alex.
I wasn't actually planning on doing 10, literally. I just thought, you know what, let's just 10's just a number, isn't it? So anyway. True. But yeah, so it will be 8. There will be 8 ways that your saltwater aquarium can kill, and there are probably more. So if your reef tank has killed you, let us know from beyond the grave in the chat.
Yeah.
And there'll be, of course, the usual reefy nonsense. Not a lot of news today, Ryan. In fact,
okay. Are you telling me that so you could like to let me know how much rambling I should do?
Yeah, I want you to ramble like an absolute mother effer.
I'll see what I can do.
Good.
So, where would you like to? Oh, sorry.
I'll tell you what we're going to start with. It's summer, Ryan. Officially, summer.
It feels weird to be doing the live stream where I'm naturally being lit by actual light outside.
I know. Ordinarily I'd shut the I like the light that I've got set up, and the sunlight, the skylight interferes with it. But so normally I'd shut that. But it's so nice. It's still an hour till sunsets. It's amazing. The clock's changing is just the best thing in the world. And I bet that's what I was going to say about that. I bet there'll be people in the chat who are like, "Oh, I forgot to set the clock on my timer or whatever."
Yeah.
And
all of my lights for all the tanks, unless they change automatically, will be wrong. And what I usually do is I just leave them. So I don't change them. They maintain the same on and off schedule the entire year. But sometimes it goes off at 9 o'clock. Sometimes it goes off at 10 o'clock.
See, I have mine goes off at 10:30 because it's basically I'm usually in bed around that time.
Yeah.
So I want it to go off at the right time. It went off at 9:30. I'm sitting in the living room, haven't got to watch TV for the last hour of the day or whatever. So, so I really like that. But it's weird. So it annoys me that everyone does it differently. So Mobius, for example, just updates automatically, so the time is correct. You don't have to do anything. Red Sea and Kessel, you have to go in and change the time and select daylight saving. So my Red Sea lights I changed this morning, and then the Kessel one I changed this afternoon.
Is this one of those first world reefer problems?
It is. It's a minor issue, I have to say. But I would far rather it just like Mobius is the best way to do it. It just happens automatically. Great. Reef Factory as well. I don't think I've updated my Reef Factory one. I don't know if that does that. I feel like that you have to do something with that. But
I love how particular you are with this. I've literally updated the clock in my kitchen on my oven, and that was only because I got to about 3 o'clock, and I went, "Oh my god, it's 4 o'clock."
Yeah.
So as in, I didn't realize I can't remember if it goes. Basically, I was an hour out for where I was meant to be. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. But it's great. I love it. I'm happy again.
But yeah. So anyway, I'm sure people have. That's probably enough daylight savings news for people.
Daylight saving bands.
Yeah.
Tell us then what you've been up to, Ryan.
Okay. So there were a few changes at the farm this week. Well, not necessarily at the farm, but with regards to it has some new corals in. That's the first thing. One of the very exciting new corals you already had previously. So I got in 3 of those tiny scullies. You know, the ones they're not tank bred, are they? They were sort of like tank raised, I believe.
I think they're chopped up,
yes.
And then they're aquacultured basically. So they get a scully from the wild, they cut it into quarters or whatever, and then let it grow, and then they cut that into quarter and let it grow. But I don't actually know. So I don't know if it's first generation, second generation, whatever, or if it's captured spawned. I don't think so. But
I'd be really interested to know how long it takes, because they are like perfect mini scollies, and you
Yeah.
can see that they definitely have been cut, because one of them you could like clearly see the old skeleton on it.
Yeah.
Like there was a like a triangle to some extent with a circular scolly on top of that triangle, so you can see where the old skeleton was. But I'd be interested to know how long it takes to get that circle back, where it's like a pristine miniature version of it. Because is it 6 weeks? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Because obviously the people, I believe they're Monsoon Aquatics in Australia, are holding them for all that time before they can actually sell them.
Spending money on electricity and all that sort of stuff, and take space that could be used to sell other corals. Or
Now, one of my other customers has one of them. So they actually bought, so all three of them have sold. There's a picture of them on my Instagram, but there's only two on the Instagram. What they sold instantly. One of them sold 20 minutes after entering the farm. Literally, someone came to pick up some corals and it was still in the bag, and they went, "I'll take that." And then the other two sold by 9 o'clock the next morning. So there is obviously a significant demand for these at the moment. They're not to my taste personally. There must be a coral. I thought of this earlier. I wanted to ask you actually: is there a coral or fish? But I suppose it's easy to say with coral at the moment, that everyone else loves that you have no interest in, like literally none.
Almost certainly, yeah. But I can't. I'll have to think about that. Because, but that's what this is for you.
Yeah, that's that for me. Because as I said to you just before the live stream started, you could give me one, and I just have no interest in it. For me, you're meant to feed them, especially these small ones. You're meant to feed them to get them to grow. And I like things that I don't have to have a job. This is your one, isn't it?
This is my one. So I posted an update the other day because I saw you got yours in. I'd not taken a photo for a while. So day one is at the top. Was it 6 weeks? Yeah, and then the bottom photo is 6 weeks. The bottom photo, to be fair, it just started eating. Yeah. So it looks a tiny bit different, but you can see. And actually, first things first, I have been feeding this, but I fed it like 3 times in the first week or 2 weeks. And then I didn't feed it at all. I got bored. So I fed it yesterday for the first time in like a month, basically. So it's better to feed it, but it's not the end of the world. But you can see instantly already, it's so much puffier and healthier, and it's grown in the space of just 6 weeks. So actually that's quite a lot of growth, I think.
And it's pellets you're feeding, is it? Where you can see the pellets.
These Vitalis LPS coral pellets.
See, I've used pellets for, not specific ones for LPS, and I think it was for trackies, where they would take them in and then they would spit them back out as if it was like there was too much of them or something. Have you noticed that at all?
I've not noticed spitting them out, but I did when the first time I fed it. I put, I think, like 3 pellets on it, or 2 pellets or whatever, and it ate one of them and left the other, which I thought was. And I've put, like before, I've put pellets on my my proper size scollies, and they just gobble down whatever you put on there. But this one was like, I just want one. Don't want any more than that.
Yeah.
I'll be full after that. It was like a very sensible eating scolly. So, this one.
Oh, sorry. The ones that are here, I'm feeding mysis, because I feel like mysis is something that's far more easy for them to digest than something that's really nutrient dense in pellet form. And they're only going to be here for a couple of days. Obviously, if people are, if I'm posting them to people, I have to keep them over the weekend. But yeah, that's them there. The red one's got some blue stripes on it, but you can't see. If in the second picture, you can see the blue stripes.
Is that that's like a war paint kind of? Yeah.
No, so it's not a war paint. So there was actually 3. There was a war paint one, but as I said, I didn't get a picture of the war paint one because that one had gone already. But the blue stripes on that one are actually pretty cool, because I was like, I wonder what that will look like, and I tried to find a scolly with sort of red with blue stripes in it, and there are versions of that. But will those blue stripes spread out, or will they stay sort of around the edge? Only time will tell.
So I bought with the war paint scollies and the bleeding apple. You know what you're getting. Yeah, that's just what they look like, and they keep their colours. I've never seen them lose their colours anyway. But I bought one from Reef Keeper probably 3 or 4 years ago, and when it was in the shop, it looked amazing. And for the first, I'm trying to find a photo of it. For the first, I don't know, couple of months, it looked really nice in my tank. And then after a while, and I've still got it to this day, after a while, it just kind of faded. And now it's just kind of, it's like orange. In fact, here we go, I found it. So this is day one. That's not the greatest photo.
Yeah.
But you can see there's a few different colours, proper bright coral.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
looks
'cause, yeah.
lovely. And then let me see if I can send you an after photo, show you an after photo as well. Here we go. And then it ended up just like that, basically.
So it's similar to the one that I've got, actually.
Exactly, yeah. And it's weird because that one's definitely for a start, it looked much nicer at first, and it's lost. I've never been able to get that color back, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Still a nice coral, but there's something different about that. That looks different to the scallop. The way it opens its mouth, like the tentacles are a completely different size and shape, and it's very different to my other scullies. But no, I love scullies. They're fantastic.
I said this to you as well before the stream started. The reason that I don't like scollies or have no interest in them was because I once got a scully, just once, and I put it in the tank, and literally it was dead the next day. Now, was that something to do with that I had done wrong? Was it? Did it have too much light? Basically, literally, the flesh just disintegrated off of it within one day. Now, from what I've heard, that is not a common occurrence. So the chances are probably there was something wrong with the actual coral rather than what I was doing. But it leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth, doesn't it?
Yeah, I wonder if it was in like the salinity it was in was different or something. But that is really weird.
Yeah,
because they're hardy as hell. You can recover them from if they're like we've talked about before. If it's almost dead, you can recover it.
Oh, you definitely could, like literally chunks of flesh were coming. You couldn't, but I just couldn't work out why it happened. But yeah, so it's interesting because your experience with them is that they're really hardy. You can bring them back to life. And my experience was I put them in there and it died within 24 hours.
That to me feels like I bet money on that being salinity. I bet there was a big difference in the salinity between the coral the water you had it in and the one I don't know. But anyway, who knows?
Yeah.
But that was a coral that died instantly, and that can just happen. If you've got in terms of me recovering them, it's when it's on its last legs. It's been on its way out for a little while, and then you can recover it. So if it's a snap, sudden bang, it's gone. You've got no chance. But if it's just unhealthy, they're bomb-proof, really easy. The only thing with them is you're supposed to keep them in cooler temperatures.
Yeah.
Which is a big part of the reason I run my tanks both at 24 degrees instead of 25, which is what most people. Are you 25 and a half, your tanks?
Yeah, I think they're 25 now. Originally it was 25 and a half, but I think they're 25 now, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I didn't notice any difference between running at 25 and 26 or 25 and a half. So I was like, well, I might as well just use less energy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the other thing. A good thing about if you get a scully, you can turn your tank down to 24 degrees and then you save money.
There's no noticeable effect on any of the other corals then at 24 degrees because you have everything. You have a wide range. Well, you even have SPS, don't you?
Yeah, some really hardy SPS. There's, I mean, the only thing I'll say on that is, sometimes I have corals that don't do well or suffer or whatever, and it's not possible for me to rule out that that's because it's too cold. But I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised. It shouldn't affect anything. 24 isn't that cool. So if I was like 22.
Have you noticed a difference in growth? Because obviously, less energy that's in the system in the form of temperature, that in theory should slow the growth down as well.
I mean, difference in growth. They grow slower than my last tank, which I run warmer because it was acros.
Yeah,
but acros grow faster than LPS anyway. So if you get it right,
so there's not a noticeable difference then.
I couldn't properly tell you, but I'd be surprised if it makes a significant difference.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, so you don't like scollies. We've understood that.
We never know. I might try one. As I said, they're both in there now. It's quite entertaining to feed them, but like having to put my arm into a full tank. I like easy things. I like things I don't have to do any work for. So the next part, you know how we sort of like are supposedly able to influence people. Well, last week I influenced myself because the fish of the week was a dragon pipefish, and what I do this week, I went out and bought a dragon pipefish. So, and I've it's in the coral farm. I put it in there just as an additional like thing it's in the SPS tray just because they're known to eat some pests that can come in on SPS corals. So I thought is an additional mouth as or a hunter to keep an eye on things. The more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned. So that is a very small update.
How long have you had him? A couple of days?
Yeah, only a couple of days. Yeah.
So you've not noticed how he's getting on in terms of flow and what he's eating, and
I've had them. I had them before, and I had them for years and years and years, and then I found them on. I found one of them on the MP40. I don't believe it was the MP40 that did it, because if it was going to do it, it would do it on day one. You see what I mean? It's like you don't live with an MP40 for 4 years, and then after 4 years, it then gets you. Yeah. So I don't think it was that, but yeah, they're really interesting. They look like these. They're almost like worms that go like swim around, and you can see them actively hunting, and their eyes move. They're one of the really, really interesting fish as far as I'm concerned. I did, however, see a new fish, which is what I should have done the fish of the week as this week. There's something called a curious wormfish. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, I saw one of them recently.
I'd never seen one before, and I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, here we go. Well, let me bring it up. Where did you see it?
I saw it in a shop. So, okay. But I just thought this is like, and I think you have to actually see them moving to understand why they're called like curious wormfish, because they're like really wiggly.
I can't remember. Excuse me. I can't remember where. I remember the name. I remember thinking it's weird. I can't remember if I actually saw it in the flesh somewhere, or if I just saw it on the internet. But yeah,
they're
unusual. What type of fish is it?
I don't know. To me, it looks like a goby potentially.
Yeah, it's got like a grumpy goby face, hasn't it?
But I'm not actually sure. But I'm sure someone will probably tell us what it is.
The curious wormfish is also referred to as a rainbow goby, neon worm goby, or a yellow striped eel. What is it though? Where's the scientific name? Oh,
it's not. It's not an eel.
Gunolithicus curiosus. Gonna lick this. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's weird.
It is weird. With regards to so last week, obviously,
it is. It's Goby Day family, so it is a goby.
There you go. I wonder if they're hardy, because you don't see them very well. Like I've never seen them, so they can't be one of the fish that is sort of really, really popular. If you see what I mean.
They're in the Indian Ocean, Seychelles, and Mauritius, as well as Hawaii. So
they have tiny mouths, tiny mouths. So I imagine that the feeding them is probably one of the. They couldn't eat a piece of mysis, as far as I'm concerned. Not the one.
I mean, you'd say that about a mandarin though, and they can like choke one down, can't they?
Yeah, that's true. I guess
it says care level difficult on Live Aquaria, so maybe that's why.
I'm going to Google that later. Now's not the time, but I am interested to know why they are they're classified as difficult. Anyway, the next thing. So last week. And I've actually done the same thing this week. Do you remember, obviously, previously we spoke about eBay not working, stopping selling livestock. Well, last week I decided to give it a go. It was average, I will say. The outcome was average.
Yeah, for you.
So the coral. So for the customers, it was bloody brilliant.
Exactly.
So corals on eBay sell for cheaper than they sell on the website, or they would sell it in a shop. They just do. I don't know why that is the case. Probably because there's not loads and loads of people on eBay looking. Now, so the first week I tried, and I put 15 items up. It did, as I said, okay. I think I'm going to try it for a month. I have 35 items up at the moment. Again, some of them are surprisingly cheap. They all end with between the start of this live stream and I think 9:30. Les actually won some of them last week, and he told me when he was here at the Coral Farm to pick them up that it was a great experience, because obviously he was on the chat and other people probably were.
Okay. What's your eBay store called?
So it's just Prestige Reef website. But if you want to find the link, it's on my last Facebook post, and there's actually a picture of all the corals together that are up this week. And they're not like it's not like a piece of Hystrix. These are like, some of them are nice corals, because I wanted a bit of variety, and I wanted to see like what does well and what doesn't do well. And I just think it could potentially be an outlet for things eventually that I have too much of. So, for example, if I have like 10,000 Tutti Frutti Zoophags, I feel like putting those on eBay is a good way to like keep the system down, so from getting out of control.
So I suppose in that sense, if it might work out that actually, although you lose out and you don't get as much money as you might hope, you're still selling something, and some people get a bargain. So
no, of course. And the other thing that worked really, that actually, to be fair, the reason I have decided to keep going with it is because people that bought through eBay last time also went, because they paid for shipping already, went onto the website and they were like, well, I've already paid for shipping and I've already got a bargain. I might as well go buy some other stuff as well. so it sort of really worked. So yeah, those are ending. Oh, look, there you go. Les saying the Bugatti Chalice is about to finish. So
1 minute. Oh,
1
71
minute.
quid. Don't buy that one. Buy the smaller one, because in 6 months' time it'll look the same and it's cheaper.
Yeah, it's 39. In fact,
Not much
start
more.
bidding now, because 39 is way too cheap for that.
Yeah, 71 quid's too cheap for the other one.
Yeah, no, I know, but as I said, it's people get a bargain. Also, it's attract. Not everyone knows about the website. Not everyone knows about where I'm located. Even this week, it still boggles my mind all the time. People that were 15 minutes away went, "I never knew you were here." It's like, how do you not know I'm here? So it's attracting a different audience of people, and So I feel like it's more of the fact that eBay is a pain to deal with. I hate eBay.
Why? What's wrong with eBay?
Uploading it is difficult. There should be just a re-upload button, but you can't. There is a button that says relist, but when you relist it, you have to change all the delivery details, the shit. Like, there's loads of stuff you have to actually change, so you're not actually relisting it.
You should just have it like a template or something. Presumably that's an eBay for business account, is it?
No, it's just my normal eBay account.
Maybe if you had a business account, it would have clever features.
Now, what was interesting is I think that I probably will have more success selling on eBay than other people, because obviously I put it on Facebook. People on the live stream now that are listening will go, "Oh, I didn't know it was on eBay, and that there's things ending in the next 20 minutes or whatever." Whereas I went on eBay last night and I won 3 corals myself, like unbelievably cheap. These were like corals which should have been like 30, 40, even 50 pounds if you divide them up into what they should have been. And I got them for like £8. So to be fair, the pictures weren't great. So I could see why other people weren't necessarily bidding up, but I knew what the corals were meant to be. I sent you the pictures, didn't I? You obviously saw the pictures, and you went, "Yeah, I can see why people weren't bidding."
So I was looking at a coral on Ultimate Reef on the weekend and yesterday, and this guy was shutting down his tank. It's a Red Sea tank, a Red Sea 200 XL.
Yeah,
and he said he'd found bubbles in the silicon, and he'd been told it was going to fail basically. And that was a Gen 2.
Yeah.
I don't know how old it was, but anyway, it was out of warranty, so presumably, anyway, whatever. But so he was shutting it down because he didn't want to lose anything, basically. So whilst it was still running fine, and he had some really nice corals, but the photos were good, but not brilliant. And I was like, I want them, but I want to come and see them first.
Yeah,
and he wasn't up for reserving them because they were selling quickly because they were nice corals, so I lost out. But yeah, photos do make a big difference, because if you post really good photos, you're more likely to get people interested or paying more high prices. To be fair,
it's the reason I mentioned it was actually because, like, this hobby is always known for being really, really expensive. And if I could get those corals for £8 and they should have been sort of £50, that's like an absolute steal. And as I said, you can, if you know what you're looking for. Now, there is a risk as well with regards to buying from eBay. You have no idea who the person is. You have no idea what the quality of their water is, what the quality of their tank is. Do they even know how to ship corals? Because that's another big thing. And obviously, like, if a coral dies for me and people follow the dead on arrival policy, then people just get their money back straight away, because it's like I have a vested interest to keep that person happy so that they're a future customer. If you're selling something on eBay, you don't really care who you sell to. No. You see what, to some extent, unless you're actively trying to build a business.
Yeah.
They probably don't care if they have you as another customer again. So
it's hard to know. Probably the majority of people do care, but it's hard to know how to spot the ones that don't until you start buying from them regularly.
But you can, if you know what, because I knew what these corals were, even though the pictures were like proper blue. They was just basically a blue blur. If you know what something is based, and you can tell it's healthy from it, you can probably get yourself some like absolute bargains on there. So, but we'll see. It's just a trial at the moment. I don't know if I'll be doing it long term, but it's any form of income, as far as I'm concerned, it's not an easy industry to be in.
No.
Like, so if obviously fish shops are there's no sugarcoating. A lot of fish shops are struggling, and you need to get as much income. Now, remember, I'm selling the same thing that fish shops are selling, and obviously my overheads are slightly different. Although I still pay VAT and have huge expenses with regards to like salt and electricity and everything. So any form of income is worth it, if you see what I mean, from my perspective. So we'll see. I'm trying a few different things. As I said previously, I also sell very, very much one-to-one via with people as well. So not through the website, and also have local people come to collect. So I'm trying all options. So yeah, that's my eBay thing. Actually, there was one other thing I did want to ask on eBay. There is one weird coral in there, isn't there, which is doing surprisingly well. I have a platygyra on there.
Back on it.
I want to know why. There was one coral which was doing better than all the other corals for the entire week, and it is a green and purple platygyra, and I don't understand like why that has done so well. If you see what I mean, I wanted to know it's a green coral basically.
I mean, it's 40 quid, so it's not like. Why do you think that's doing so well?
Well, because the Bugatti was also £40, but if you have a choice of which one are you going to pick?
Yeah, true.
So that's why I wasn't sure if that was something special or something that I just didn't know about.
I think it's a bit unusual. Plays don't normally look like that, and it's got 3 colours in it. But it's nothing. That's nothing. So I think have I got that one? I got one from you.
You won't have this one. No. You've got the pink one, haven't you, from me?
Yeah, that's it. Okay. It's nice, but it's not like that doesn't give me a big chubby one.
That's what I mean. I was just intrigued by if you thought that was actually something special or something. No. Les says it looks better in person. There you go. He'll be the one. Okay. He's probably the one bidding on it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's all right. It's that I would walk past that in a shop. No offense.
There you go. So, and I think to some extent that is it. Other than that, I've got Reefing Royalty coming to the house tomorrow.
Who's that?
That's you.
Oh yeah, me. Yeah.
Alex is like, oh, can I come to the coral farm, please? And with anyone else, I'm happy just to go. Yeah, just turn up. Alex is like, I want to come. I'm like, nope. I need to clean first because he likes to point out where I'm going wrong.
Yeah, I do like to pick up on.
Well, it is not clean, I can assure you at the moment because I haven't had time today, so I'll do it tomorrow morning.
Part of the reason is because I can get rid of this now.
That's true.
This has been sat on my shelf for like 2 months. That's the what's it called? The
par meter.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Apogee.
Yeah. I've had it for ages. Yeah. But yeah, I want to get rid of that, and I've got a coral for you as well.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, is it a hammer
colony?
Yeah. I look forward to it.
So indeed, yeah. But and also, I just want it's nice weather, and I want an excuse to get on the bike. So, and
anyway,
your roads around you are great. So.
No, not for a car. They're not. They're like really, really tight.
Exactly. Yeah, like narrow and switchback.
No. Anyway, I have pretty much done my allotted half an hour. Even Woody is saying, breathe, Ryan, breathe. So,
okay, maybe you're getting too excited. What have I been up to? So, you mentioned the other week the Coralfish 12G video, right? That was he was at a clownfish farm.
Yes.
It turns out so I watched that. It was Bali Aquarish, which is
the
massive place in Indonesia. That video, if you haven't seen it, it's the second most recent Coralfish 12G video. It's fantastic. The thumbnail I thought looked awful. I looked some of his videos because they're not really hobby kind of videos anymore. He's moved away a little bit. He still does sort of stuff, of course, but so I don't watch most of his videos now. If it's something that's like really interesting about the hobby, I will do, but I don't watch most of his videos. And I saw that thumbnail and I was like, it's boring. And then eventually I clicked on it and watched it. It was fantastic. Yeah. It's so cool. And that place is amazing. The size of this fish farm and coral farm is, and all the vats they've been out there for 20 years. So they're proper established and they've just got clownfish after clownfish after clownfish, millions of fish everywhere. This huge sprawling site is brilliant. I love that.
What did you think of the really, really big clownfish that they showed nearer the end of the tour that had really long fins where it looked,
didn't like it.
It looked like one of those ones that could barely swim. The goldfish where they can like barely swim because they're doing this because their fins are so long. Yeah. For the people on the podcast, that was Ryan pretending to be a goldfish that had really long fins.
Bad swimming goldfish.
I don't like that. No. That potentially is the future of clownfish, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. But they keep breeding different types until they find something that looks cool or different, and then they go for it. So, but no, I don't like the longfin clownfish at all. Even when they're like semi-short longfin, it just looks bad to me. I don't like it. But that place is amazing. And it was wicked. I would highly recommend going and checking it out. I mean, it's probably got a million views, so there's a good chance you've seen it already. But
yeah. I didn't like the video put out yesterday or the day before. It was like some meat market in like Thailand or somewhere, and it's like got people eating monkeys and stuff.
Oh dear.
As in literally, they weren't eating the monkey, but there was just this like fried monkey, and you had all claws and teeth there. I was like, wow. So yeah,
different cultures.
Yeah, it was a very different type of one of his videos. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that, to be fair. Etsy, brief Etsy update. Etsy is back in Canada for me now. So a while ago, Canada they had postal issues, and there was some massive strike or something like that. And I sell stuff to Canada every now and then, and a few people got in touch with me after about a month and said it hasn't arrived. And so I had to refund a few people. And so I turned postage off because I didn't want to keep selling stuff, disappointing people, basically. Yeah. And then I forgot about it. And I remembered because I saw the Fragbox video this week. It was something like the thumbnail was something about tariffs, poking fun at Trump. And I was like, oh, yeah, Canada, I forgot. So there's no tariffs at reefdork.etsy.com. But yeah, I reopened that. The main thing, though, I wanted to talk about was so last weekend I bought a soft coral.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Actually, one of my customers, I'll tell you this. He's probably listening. Well, he definitely is listening, probably because obviously he would have heard last week. He came into the coral farm and he went, "Why was Alex so excited by that brown toadstool? It's just a toadstool."
It's a fair question. It's a boring, dull soft coral.
Yeah.
But it's to be fair, the photo I posted or the video I posted on, that's a bad video because you can see all my dirty sand. Oh, actually, it's a bit coralline. Anyway, you can see the dirty sand bed, and it's not a brilliant video. But that's not look at those polyps and tentacles waving around. Doesn't that? I love to.
No,
I love that.
If they were either bright green or much longer than that, then I would go, yeah, okay, that's an interesting one. But to me, that just looks like 95% of other toadstools.
This is the one that kicked it all off for me. A really nice one at Yorkshire.
You wait till tomorrow. I've got one of those that's bigger than that in the coral farm. You've just never seen it because it was tucked away.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I'll check it out. But I found one today at Aquatic Emporium in Shepperton, West London, East Surrey, and it was really nice. They had a couple, and they've got sort of 5 or 6 of these. They're bloody expensive, 75 quid for this thing. It's big, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's so nice, and it's bright green, and it's just it's cool. I was dipping it 20 minutes before the stream started, so I haven't taken any photos of it yet. But it's I'm going to try to avoid getting too many of those because they get big quick.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, they're cool. They're nice. So
it'll turn into a predominantly soft coral tank. I'm assuming it's going in the cage, isn't it?
I think it's going in the main tank. They're both in the main tank at the moment. I've not decided yet though, because I could put them. Oh no, I can't. But bloody anemone. I was going to say I could put them at the top because it had gone down the side, and now it's back up on the top again. So
you're going to be at the farm tomorrow, and you somehow you're going to end up leaving with that absolutely massive toadstool.
Yeah.
But we'll be in. Well, I don't. Obviously, you won't really. But
no. But no, it's just I just like them. They're cool. But the trouble, they will grow quick and grow big. But I'll just cut them back. Fine.
Yeah.
What are you saying? Yeah.
Well, because the chances are you probably won't cut them back. When you do cut them back, they're like weird shapes. So you have to take a ring around them and like a pineapple ring. And then but try cutting a pineapple ring while it's closing up. And it's getting smaller and smaller. It's not as easy as you think it is. And then when it opens back out again, it's got all this ragged edge around it. So,
okay. So it's all going to go Pete Tong basically. But
look. even when you had SPS corals, that and you just need to like just frag a little bit just to stop them from stinging each other, you still go, oh, I'll just leave that.
Yeah,
So,
or you frag it. You try to frag one branch, and when you grab it with the pliers, the bloody base of it breaks off, so you lose 90% of the
yeah,
coral. It's like,
yeah,
it's a nightmare. But that all corals. So I had loads. I thought of this, of course, because all my corals grow big. They're more spaced out on my rock. The spaces for corals are more spaced out than before, and I had loads of spaces at the bottom of the scape where it doesn't matter if they get too big because they're not going to shade anything apart from sand.
yeah.
But all of those spots are now taken, so I haven't got space for it there. So I'm going to do. Actually, I'm probably going to put it on the weir box. I think that's what I'm going to see. I'll see how the flow is there because it's got to have good flow. But it's just so nice. So I'm suddenly into softies. Got a soft spot.
Yeah, it's weird because could you imagine yourself now if you went back a year and I said to you in a year's time you're going to buy a lovely brown toadstool, you'd go, there is not a chance I will ever own a toadstool. I assume is what you'd probably say.
Yeah, completely. But there's, so do you know what? There's a soft coral tank done nicely, because the trouble is a soft coral tank that's just not put together very well, they're really boring and they're all like 50 shades of beige.
Yeah.
But a soft coral tank done nicely. Let me see if I can find the one I'm thinking of, because there was a here we go. Hang on, let me just put that onto mute. This was the Reef Dreams soft coral tray. Now, it's just a coral tray, to be fair, and this is a bad video. This is before I knew how to use a camera, apparently. But come on, play it again. But that looks really nice, like really established, really grown out. Loads of different types, different shapes, different movement pattern, all that sort of stuff. I really like that. That looked really nice. So a soft coral tank done well can be really nice. It's just a lot of the time when you see soft corals, they're just boring, especially if it's the ones I was slagging off last week.
I think if you're going to have that, like those soft corals, you need to have other soft corals which are colorful with them. So I watched some of the video, not all of it, that you put out with that soft coral tank. Yeah, if you actually look at it, the toadstool is sort of in the middle, which is like the primary piece. Mm-hmm. And then they've also got some uranium bounce mushrooms, I believe, in there, which are the green ones which grow. So that adds a very different contrasting color. And they had at the front the what they call the OG bounce mushrooms, which are yellow. Mm-hmm. So it was a soft coral predominant, like mostly soft coral tank, but it wasn't like a brown soft coral tank, if you see what I mean. They had the real bright color.
There was lots. To me, it was people pulled me up on that. They were like, "It was not really a soft coral tank."
Yeah, there was.
I was like, "I know it's a mixed reef, but it's soft coral dominant." Oh, come on, But there's lots of LPS. It's probably 50% LPS, to be fair. That was the first thing. Like the first thing I said on the video, I was like, "So you're going to show me around the soft coral tank?" And she was like, "Well, it's kind of LPS, really." But just the big, the majority. Like if you weighed all the corals. Actually, no, the skeletons would be heavy on the LPS. I'll move on. I'm losing my own argument.
Supposedly, soft corals are becoming like really, really in again, and I learned they're cheaper and easy to use. So, like, well, not use, but easier to keep. So I understand why they basically come back into fashion.
Yeah, well, yes, cyclical, isn't it? But the ones I've bought aren't cheap. They were both 70 or 75 quid. They were, and they're big corals. To be fair, you wouldn't get if you were buying an acro that size, it'd be a lot more.
Yeah,
but that for 75 quid, that to me that's quite a lot of money. I'd expect them to be cheaper, but I guess if you frag them up and then let them grow out, they'd be much cheaper, much smaller. But and so maybe people do that and you can get them cheaper. But these aren't cheap, but they're definitely hardy. Definitely hardy.
Yeah.
Really hardy. Do you know what else is hardy?
Bubble algae. I saw that.
So this is the back of my algae scraper in my cade tank. And I've got a bit of bubble algae in the cade, but only a few small patches. It's not really a problem. And they don't seem to be spreading much. Every now and then, when I can be bothered every couple of months, I'll pick the bits off. But it really grows on the back of my algae scraper.
But why?
And I don't, just because I don't know, because there's some on there and there's got no competition for space. I don't know. It just does. And so it's completely covered. I just pulled that out and scraped it all off, to be fair. And it comes off really easily. And what you could also do is, I've done before, I've put it in hydrogen peroxide. So you scrape off all the majority of it, then put the thing in hydrogen peroxide. And that does a really good job of getting rid of the last of it. But it's just, I just scrape it off every couple of months. But there was just so much, it was worth sharing.
There seems to be Do you know? Some people say don't touch it. Some people say do. It's fine to touch. Like with regards to spreading it, I don't. Because I think Jake Adams used to say you could break.
There was a video recently, and I've just found there's a hidden comment. Expensive export method. Instagram decided that was worth hiding. Anyway, there was a video not that long ago on BRS. Thomas, I forgot his surname, but Thomas did a video on bubble algae, and he showed how it worked, like the science behind how they reproduce in that, and it doesn't matter. You pop it all you want, but that's not how they spread.
Interesting, because that's one of the things that everyone thought all the time.
Yeah. Oh, don't pop it,
yeah.
But I just, it's pretty easy to pull off. I just pull bits off and then chuck them away. But I really don't have that much at all. I've got like, I don't know, a dozen bubbles, maybe.
Speaking of BRS, I have properly started watching the Serious Reef videos now.
You have.
I've like when I said last time I'd maybe watched like 2. I've now watched like 6 or 7, I think.
Okay.
They're actually.
How are you finding them? That's to be honest, that's unusual for you to watch that many YouTube videos.
This sort of should have really have been in my like week in rethink. To be fair, so one of the reasons I watch them is I want something to watch at the gym. Not that it looks like I even go to the gym, but that was one of the reasons. But the other reason I've started to find is it's actually interesting that the more I am listening to them, the more interest I am in the hobby again. Okay. You know how it's hard to describe exactly what it is. It's almost like I used to do this. It used to be something I used to enjoy doing, like finding information as much as possible because information changes all the time. So if you stop learning, like you get left behind. And so I went back to the very, very beginning, and I'm listening to the beginner series as well, where he says about what tanks are set up and how to set up in the perfect way, where you leave it empty for 4 weeks and you don't turn the lights on and you put live rock in it. I didn't do that with the water box. So if I'd done that with the water box, maybe it would have been easier potentially. So it's Ryan's watching to see if he gets mentioned again. I've not actually seen the one where I do get mentioned yet. The only reason I knew that is because Alex sent it to me. But I don't think I'll be. I'm not sure I'm on his mind that much.
No.
But I actually, when I was listening to him, I was thinking, and I was very skeptical at the beginning. I said, "Why would anyone pay?" Didn't I? Do you remember I said, I just don't see it being a thing. As I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, actually, this is actually worth the money, like for 10 quid or whatever it is, for both entertainment value, but also the extra bits that you learn.
Completely.
So, yeah. Anyway,
I'm glad you watch it. No, it's really good. I really like it, and I watch everything, and I really enjoy the long form. I'm going to try to do more long form videos. I've done a few lately, but I enjoy the long form conversations like this. We love this live stream, don't we? And I enjoy watching longer. Yeah. So he's done loads that even like 45 minutes long, all the way through to 2 hour long. I actually prefer those videos now to the quick 5 and 10 minute videos, because when I started on YouTube, I didn't want to watch half an hour long review of a bloody Radion. I wanted to tell me 5 minutes, tell me go. So that's why all my videos were short. And now I because that's what I make what I want to watch. And now I'm like, well, actually, I quite like the longer stuff. So I might I'm going to try to do a bit more of that. But I really like the long form videos. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I've been sent some stuff. Ryan, been sent some stuff
from a fan.
No,
from a company.
No. Not a pair of used underwear or anything like that, if that's what you were thinking. From 2 companies. So I've been sent the TMC tank, the first wave.
Okay, yeah.
The little Fluvilevo ripoff. And I have not yet set it up. I'm going to do an unboxing video. I've had lots of stuff on. I wanted to do it this week, but I didn't get around to it. I'm going to do an unboxing video, and then I'm going to set it up and do a video. It's not going to be like a proper how to set up a saltwater aquarium video, but it'll just be showing you what you can do with a tank like that, basically. And I've got a couple of ideas that are going to be, I think, quite cool. But that's going to come, I don't know when, because it's going to take quite a lot of work.
It's funny, today, literally, I was sitting there thinking, because I saw one of those tanks recently on Friday, and I was like, okay, one of those tanks. And then something kicked in my head and went, No, why would you want another tank?
Why would you
Like,
want a nano tank? This is not
and
like you
I
at
know,
all.
no, I know. I
Okay.
just, I don't know what, like, I'm not sure what came over me. Basically,
Yeah,
something
okay.
in my head went, yeah, this would be a good idea. And I was like, no, this is a terrible idea. I already have like 4 or 5 systems. I can't even remember anymore now. And I don't want any more.
No.
So, but I'll live vicariously through you.
There you go. Well, I'm going to try to set up in a day, basically.
Okay.
And but it's because the last when I do how to set up a saltwater aquarium videos, they take so much time. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't want this to take me weeks to make it. So, but I just want to show the tank basically. So that's coming soon. And I also got sent a return pump, which is really exciting. Ryan, look at his face. Look how excited he is.
I'm very excited. I'm checking my eBay.
Oh yeah.
I know I'm meant to be focused, but sometimes I get distracted.
Well,
Anyway,
I'm talking about return pumps now. Yeah, it's the new Red Sea return pump. So supposedly, so my current return pump is a Reef Factory one. I've had it for, I don't know, 2 years, and it's a Jecod with a fancy dress on, and it's connected to the Reef Factory app basically, so you can integrate it with that. And I really like Jecod pumps. I think they are the right powerhead for most people. Yeah. Because they're cheap, they're reliable, they're quiet, and they just work. What else do you want from a return pump? You don't really need the integration in an app. But the one thing with my one at the moment, the Reef Factory one, is when you put it into feed mode, and it's been like this for about 6 months now. When you put it into feed mode, it goes into feed mode fine, but then at the end of the 10-minute countdown, it doesn't come back on. It just it tries to come back on and then says error, so I have to turn it off and on again manually. And I've just lived with that. I just turn it off when I do a water change instead of putting it into feed mode.
Yeah.
But I've had in mind to change it for a while now. So this is what I'm going to use.
What is new and exciting though about the Red Sea one?
I'll tell you when I've looked at it properly. Yeah. But it's a return pump at the end of the day, so don't expect to get too excited.
What I mean. What's new?
I can't remember. They talked to me about some stuff. There's some stuff that you can do in the app or whatever. So, and a lot of people like that. I was talking to someone the other day and they were asking me what skimmer I should get this year, whatever. And I was trying to steer them away from the one they were looking at, but they wanted all Red Sea stuff so they could have it all on one app, basically. And I was like, okay, fair enough. But anyway, so there'll be some stuff that you can do in the app. But basically, the last one was a Seache return pump.
Yeah.
And the Seache ones were buzzy. They were quite noisy. Supposedly this one is quiet. That's the one thing that they told me. If it was noisy, I wouldn't be interested.
Yeah.
But supposedly this is quiet. If it's not quiet, I will be disconnecting it from my system. I won't keep it.
Quiet is often a matter of opinion as well.
But it's fine. It doesn't have to be silent. That tank is not silent. It's pretty quiet. But as long as it's not buzzy and noisy, I'm cool with it. So, so I'll be setting that up at some point. I've had it for like a week or two now, and I still haven't got around to setting it up. Yeah. So, because the trouble is, I've got before I can't just chuck it in. I've got to video it and show the little play around with dismantling it. And
I know it's been a long time since I've done anything to do with products, but I know exactly how it feels. Yeah. It's almost like you go, you got to do work before you can actually use it. So yeah, I know. Exactly. So I'll expect for it to be on your tank in about a month's time.
I'm gonna try to do it soon. I want to get it done, but anyway. So I've got some new stuff. So it's all very exciting, particularly the return pump.
Very exciting.
And the tank I'm going to be setting up in the corner of this room. You won't be able to see it, but it will be in this room. So we'll see. I might have to set up. Ideally, I'd have it set up for just a weekend or a week.
I've been in that room. It's not very big. Oh, I suppose you're not keeping it long term, are you?
No. It's tiny. There's no space. But yeah, it's all good. But I think that's about everything I've done. So that means that we can move on to stuff. 48 minutes, 55 seconds. 3, 2, 1. And now we can talk about the 8 things in your reef tank.
If we weren't going to do member questions next, which is what
for heaven's sake. Why am I so terrible at this? Right. Member questions. Refresh. Oh, there's another one. Okay. I'm going to start with the latest one. It's 3 minutes old, this question, Ryan. And this is from Licia, your mate from Aqua.
Yeah, we haven't seen. Someone mentioned that they hadn't seen Licia in the chat recently, but I saw her in it today. So I don't know if she has or hasn't been here recently. But
okay, welcome back. She says she's got a new tank coming in the next week or two. The new tank is going where my current one is. I can already feel the pain of this. What's the best way to move all the coral and livestock to the new tank with minimal death, ideally? laughy face. Tank is double the size of the current one, so I need to figure out how to move the water across as well. So I did this recently with the Fluval Evo. Well, I say recently, the Fluval Evo became the Cade, and that was a very similar situation. The Cade is roughly double the size of the Fluval Evo, and I moved it all across. There are a couple of ways of doing it. Actually, Tim, how would you do it, Ryan?
A big blue barrel is what I would do. If you know what I'm talking about, the big blue ones with the black lids. I would put as much water and rock into that, move it across so you're a couple of meters away from the tank. But the best thing to do, get a pump and a hose, pump the water into the blue barrel, which is probably a meter or so away from the tank. Put any rock in there, have the coral and fish in a plastic tub so there's not getting all crushed in the barrel together. And take the tank out, put the new tank in, put the pump with the water back into the new tank. Job done.
So you'd move the fish twice. Once into the barrel and then once into the new tank.
Yes. Well, how can you put the fish into the new tank if the new tank is going where the old tank is?
This depends on how big the tank is. So, Licia, if you're here, tell us how big it is. With my Fluval Evo, what I did was I got a plank of wood that was thick and big enough to go underneath it. I lifted it up onto the plank of wood, which was easy, and then I moved the Fluval Evo out of the way.
Yeah, but that's a tiny tank.
Yeah. But loads of people have nano tanks. So if it's a nano tank, 50 liters or whatever.
Isn't it funny how your thought was like it's a nano tank, and my thought is it's a 1,000-liter tank?
Yeah, exactly. But tell us, because I can see you in the chat. But yeah, so if it's small, I would literally physically move the tank. You don't want to just lift the tank up by the glass, because I don't know if it'll be able to support the weight. But if you can put it on a piece of wood, that's fine. Move it out of the way.
Just so you know, Licia, this is a terrible idea. Do not do this. Alex did it, but he was lucky, as far as I'm concerned.
No, the reason that's a good idea, there's a couple of reasons. One, it means that you don't have to move the fish twice and stress them out unnecessarily.
The tank is 3 feet.
4 by 2 by 2.
Okay. Yes, it's massive.
Fair enough. But the other reason that's a good idea is because when I did that meant I could move the tank out of the way, and then I had ages to set up the new tank. So I didn't need to rush it or whatever. So if you've got to rush it and get it done in a day, basically, then yeah, you're going to want to do Ryan's thing. But
So you have two options, Licia. You can either do what I said, which is the clever way, or you can hire the Hulk to lift this tank up, which is Alex's version.
No, my way would depend on it being a small tank, which it isn't. So okay, fair enough. But I would, you're going to need to do what Ryan says. But the problem is, Alex, you're making me more stressed. Yeah, it's going to be a bloody nightmare, Licia. I'm not going to lie to you. You're not going to have fun that day. Get people to help. But yeah, so because one of the problems is water, right?
Yeah.
So I've done that before with a big tank. I moved a 3-foot tank to a 4-foot tank, actually. Same sort of thing as that. And that I had buckets all over the place. It was really stressful. It takes a lot longer than you think. So start as early as you can on a Saturday. So you've got Saturday and Sunday, assuming you don't work weekends. So start as early as you can. So you've got 12 hours if you need to in the day. As many buckets as you can. The problem with that is for every bucket, you need a heater. So if you've got one big bucket to store the water, that's great. And then you need to put everything across into the buckets or storage, or whatever. Get the tank out of the way as quick as possible. Don't clean it, just get it out of the way. It doesn't matter. Put the new tank in place. Fill up with water. You're going to need more spare water online. If you think the current tank is 100 liters and the new tank is 200 liters, you don't need 100 extra liters. You're probably better off getting the new tank almost completely full, and then you can pour any water away from it. You obviously want to transfer over as much of the water as you can do from the old tank. But I'm never that fussed. Excuse me. I'm never that fussed about doing that. So I would rather drain the tank down 70% and avoid churning up all the sludge or whatever, than drain it down 90% and get all the sludge up. You don't want to transfer over the sand, almost certainly. Although Yorkshire Reef did the exact same thing. They moved the tank over, got it out of the way and put in a new tank. And they pulled all that out of the sand, put it into a separate salt bucket and spent 45 minutes mixing it in salt water to properly clean it. That sounds like it was thorough. And I think, and there was two of them there, like literal professionals.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do that. I would just throw the sand away, use new sand. Make sure you rinse the sand first because it's going to be dusty as hell otherwise, and you don't want that. It's a nightmare. This is going to be a pain in the arse.
I think that it will take longer than you think it will. Yeah. But the one thing you need to remember in sort of like, I'm assuming it has a sump. This might not be the case, but obviously your existing tank is smaller than your new tank, which means you're not going to have enough water. But remember, you can turn your existing tank into a sumpless tank just by not filling it up to the top. So as long as you have a heater in the tank and a power head, and to keep the water moving, that's the priority, rather than trying to fill up over the top and not because obviously the water won't necessarily be heated as well.
Yeah,
if you're quickly trying to make it. So just get the fish and the corals in and everything. It will be a very stressful day. It will be chaotic. And you will make loads. Try to not disturb the water and stuff as much as possible, because otherwise when you're putting it in the tank, it's going to be cloudy, and then you're trying to deal with cloudiness as well.
Yeah. Also get lots of towels. If you've got 4 or 5 towels, have them around because you'll spill water everywhere.
And friends. Get some friends to help.
Yeah. But yeah, mate, I don't envy you. And she says, yeah, God knows what's living in my sand. You can find a Jehovah's Witness in there. So, saltwater Jehovah's Witness.
That's something very specific.
Yeah. I have windows. They find a way. But yeah, that's going to be a nightmare. Don't underestimate it. Don't underestimate how long it'll take and how much of a pain in the arse it'll be. Sorry. Next question is from Edward, who says, greetings from Florida, where presumably it is currently hot. Are there any red bubble tip anemone resistant corals? They played nice with my frog spawn so far, maybe encrusting types. Let me go to our resident bubble tip anemone expert, Ryan from prestigereef.co.uk.
So my bubble tips don't affect the Galaxia, or is it the Galaxia doesn't affect the bubble tips? It's one or the other.
Okay.
But it's probably the same with the corals he's got. The chances are, maybe if the polyps are slightly touching, it's not a big deal. But if the anemone decide to climb up one of the branches and touch it properly, it probably would cause you trouble. They have a pretty powerful sting, like when it comes to corals. So there's not many things. And I think it's with regards to Galaxia, I think it's the Galaxia that's not stinging the anemone. And the anemone's too far away to touch the Galaxia, so I don't actually know. Is the honest answer.
I feel like soft corals would be resistant.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, soft corals probably, because they can touch lots of things. They might be, well, I think they might become irritated, so they're not fully open. I don't know, is the honest answer.
No, and anytime that they've gone roaming in my tank, within a couple of days, I've popped it off and moved it on. So I've not had the problem where they're stinging constantly. Mine is close to. In fact, weirdly, I had a what's a rock flower anemone? I had a rock flower anemone there, and one of the bubble tips moved around and started touching it, and the rock flower didn't like it and moved on. I would have thought they'd be okay, but it didn't like it. So
no,
yeah. So not that I know of. Playing nice with your frog spawn so far. Maybe other encrusting types. I don't know. Is the honest answer.
There are no facts here.
There are no facts here. Nor does one. But trial and error. Next one is from Jamie, who says, bloody hell, it's a long question.
Can you condense it down for me? You know I have a very short attention span.
What tank should I get? A 900 or a 1200? Let me read the question. That's just
is that litres? Go for the 1200.
No. Hi, Alex and Brian. Do you have any recommendations for a small nano powerhead? Yes, I read this earlier actually. A small nano powerhead that can be a small or nano powerhead that can be angled upwards directly to create surface agitation. He's running 2 MP10s, one either side of his tank, which provides great flow throughout the tank. However, surface agitation is pretty poor. I was looking at an AI Nero 3, but most of it you can't angle up very high. The tank is 2 feet wide, 16 inches front to back. I'm going to pause to see if Ryan's reaction is the same as mine was.
2 feet wide, 16 inches front to back.
And 2 MP10s.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's the reaction.
Tank. Yeah.
So that's smaller than, well, it's roughly the same size as the Cade. That's a lot of flow. But so I'm going to pause there with that question because the answer is not to if you've got filmy nonsense on the top of on the water surface, it's not going to go away just with a power head, probably. The answer to the question, to give you a straight answer, can I recommend a power head? Jekod. SOW, I think they're called. They angle up and down. They're cheap, they're reliable. You can get whatever size you want. I would go bigger rather than smaller, but Jekod SOW. Oh no, hang on. Jekod SOW. Is it the SOWs? Yeah, it is. Here we go. These ones. They look like these. You probably want a reasonable size one. The 4 is tiny. I would go for an 8. I'd probably go for an 8 on that tank, to be fair. So if you want a straight answer to that question, that's the one. The longer answer is the film is probably not going to be fixed by that. So I have weirdly in my Red Sea tank, the display tank is absolutely fine. The sump is absolutely fine, but the sump extension has got this weird film on it. And I've got a light on it because I'm using it as a frag tank, but it's got this weird film on it. I tried blasting it with a power head, and I've been doing that for months now, and it hasn't made an ounce of difference. And it's just that one section. It doesn't make any sense why it is. I don't understand why it is there. But there's an issue that I need to fix. And
it'll be a lack of water movement that's causing it.
It's not. No, it's not, because there's the same amount of water movement in that section as there is in the sump. And actually, I've now got a power head and a pump for the UV sterilizer, pumping water around quite a lot. So I don't think it's water movement. So, but anyway, it might not fix your problem, but go for a Jekod SOW 15 for 8. Did I say? I think. Anyway, it follows on. I've converted my freshwater fluval shaker, I don't know what that is, into a reef tank to dip my toe into the salty side, and I'm hooked. Good lad. I have no sump or weir, so surface biofilm is an issue, hence wanting a power head dedicated for surface agitation. Have either of you had a little a fluval surface skimmer?
Skimmer, that's what I was thinking. I had a Aqua, didn't I?
Aqua, yeah. What's it called?
Surface skimmer of some sort. Did it work brilliantly? It's hard to say. It was on quite a big tank. For a small tank, yeah, that's what I had.
SK400.
Because that's what you need. You need to have a drop, basically. Like a weird tank has a drop that goes into a filter sock usually, and that's what you'll take. That's what stops the surface fill.
Yeah, that's true.
So, because otherwise, your tank probably would have it on the top as well.
That section doesn't have a drop in my tank, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But everyone who owns that tank must have exactly the same problem.
No, not at all. So I've seen there's another guy I watch on YouTube who's got I think it's the bigger tank, and his sump extension is fine. It was really good, actually. It's annoying. But anyway, so you could try that. It says, I have no sample with... Right. Have either of you had experience with using canister filters on reef tanks? No, instead of sumps. And I don't think you have either. How have you?
I have. I had my first tank was a saltwater tank. It was a freshwater tank that I converted in, and it had 2 FX5s on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So your face always lights up when I say FX5. It's like you have some sort of like recollection of them. I'm sure. I was surprised. I have no input. So we have talked about that before, because I wanted an FX5 when I had the freshwater tank, because they're the massive fancy ones, aren't they? They were the fancy ones. To be fair, I didn't have 2 FX5. I had 1 FX5, and I also had an Eheim of some sort that came with it. And that I look back now and think I didn't need 2. I just didn't know what I was doing. I thought if I have 2 filters, it's twice the filtration, but it doesn't really work like that. So I didn't need to have 2 filters. I could have got away with 1. So
there was a video I did on there's a tank tour of a tank Abyss in Manchester. I can't remember what it's called, but if you look on my channel from about 2 years ago, you'll find it. And they have a tank that's a reef tank that's run with canister filters. In fact, canister filters are probably in the title. Search canister filter reef tank. But so I don't. You did. Did you like it or did you hate it?
It won't fix that problem, because the canister filter sucks from the bottom of the tank, doesn't it? It doesn't. You don't have a.
Okay. Okay.
Although usually you have like a spray bar on the return.
Yeah. Just have it.
But I don't think that isn't going to fix it. You need to have some sort of drop. And someone in the comments said, "Will a weir not sort it?" Well, a weir would sort it, but the tank doesn't have a weir. Yeah. So that's
the fluval surface skimmer might sort it, because that creates an artificial
Yeah,
effectively.
and it has a little piece of filter media in it, which you can then change and yeah.
I try a few things with that. It's probably not bacteria, but you could try a UV as well, and what's it called, activated carbon. But yeah. Anyway, he's looking at a Sorry.
It's a pretty small
yeah,
tank.
it's very true. Yeah, very true. Yeah, forget that. Actually, that's a bad suggestion. He's looking at a DD Reef Pro 900 or 1200 next. That's a 3 foot or a 4 foot. Both very nice tanks.
Go for the 4 foot. Go for the 4 foot, and if it's got a weir, you won't have this problem again.
In fact, go for the 6 foot.
Yeah.
If you're anywhere near Shepperton, which is in West London, East Surrey, go to Aquatic Emporium. Don't go there just yet, but they're just setting up. They've got the 4 foot tank and they're setting up the DD 5 foot tank. So go back in a couple of weeks' time and they'll have both of them set up and you can see them in the flesh. If you're not anywhere near it, never mind. Next question. Tom Bishbosh. Have you guys got any advice on how to make water changes easy and accurate, such as correct amount in and out without messing with sump flow devices to remove the water, e.g. to siphon or pump, and suggested brands? I'm looking to design and print a clip that sits on my display and measures the volume removed, so I know exactly how much to add in. And I wonder if there's anything else you do. And he sent me a video. He's 3D printed a level monitor, so it has the correct level, so he knows how to move. What do you think, Ryan?
I put water in and take water out at the same time.
Yeah,
which I think is what.
At the same time. Oh, do you take water out of the display tank and put it in the sump?
Yes. Yeah. Well, you originally, when I was doing the water change, I was taking it out of the weir box, which is obviously the furthest point away from where the water was going in. So, because obviously then the water goes in the return pump, mixes in the tank. It's unlikely to go back immediately into the weir box. So that was what I was doing originally. But my weir box was on the side, on the corner of my 1,000 litre tank.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just picked two points which were furthest from each other, and took the water out and put water in at the same time. So.
Okay, I wouldn't do that because
that's what you do with. That's what people do with.
Not
that.
Literally at the same time. I'll turn everything off, so like I wouldn't have the water mixing, because then you're just going to be removing the new water, aren't you?
I think it's very unlikely you're going to be removing a significant amount of the new water, because think about it. It goes into the display tank and has to cycle all the way around before it goes back into the weir where you're removing the other water. I just think if you're doing it. I did it for years. I did it for years and years and years, and it worked. And I never had to turn the pumps off. It just kept everything going perfectly. That's why I think that turning return pumps off, on and off, all the time, for feed mode is what breaks them. Like touch wood. Like I have had a remarkable success with regards to equipment and not messing with it, not taking it apart, not cleaning it, and not having a problem. I'm not advising you all don't do that. That's just what I do.
So I put on stuff on feed mode or turn it off, and
and you've now got a pump that doesn't work properly because it doesn't turn back on.
Well, this is true, but that's the only one. Not my return pumps don't fail. Return pumps don't fail very often. But anyway, although actually the AI, what they call the AI, I can't remember, and the TMC, that's the same thing. Whatever.
I thought your automatic water changer takes water out and puts water in at the same time.
So I don't use that anymore since I've moved to the tank, but it used to, But
so you're criticizing me, and you've been doing it for years.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of that, is that you can just plug it in and leave it. If you're gonna do a water change manually, you might as well it takes another 5 minutes. But anyway, what I would do, I just get a bucket. So I can't tell you the brand of the bucket, but it's this. It's a brewing bucket, and it's got markers on it here. So that's the 25 litre mark. It's Google brewing bucket, and they come with measuring bits on it. And then I mix up I've got two of them. So in the new bucket, the new salt water, I mix up 25 litres, and then I drain 25 litres out of the old tank with my pumps turned off, with just a siphon that I bought off my local fish shop for $5. And I drain it to 25 litres and I add it back in, and I'm done. And in terms of, so he talked about accuracy. I used to be really bothered about, I've removed 341.726 litres, so I need to put in the exact amount. I don't care anymore. Like if the auto top off comes on and it adds another half a litre or whatever, it makes next to no difference. If there's Hamza's Reef. If you Google Hamza, Hamza, Hamza's Reef, my phone just said yes, can I help? Hamza's Reef resulting salinity calculator. It will tell you. So if you remove a litre of salt water and replace it with a litre of fresh water, it will tell you the difference it makes to your salinity. You'll be surprised how low it is. So I don't bother with, like, if it's exact or not, I don't really care. So, but to get it precise, I would use buckets personally, because that's just, for me, the quickest way. But there's Ryan's way. Oh, and he's got another question. Second question. I know, can someone please tell, what? Can someone please tell me why, when I mix 12.5 litres of RODI with half a kilogram of Red Sea salt at 23 to 25 degrees C, that I don't get 1.025 salinity? It keeps happening and I don't know why. I let it mix for around 2 hours as top recommend. So the on any salt, the amount of salt that it suggests you add is a guideline, and it won't necessarily make it up exactly. So I always find it's slightly out, a tiny amount out. But if you're saying that it should, if the box says it half a kilo should mix with 12.5 litres of RODI water, then just, it's not an exact. It should be the same always. So it should, if it takes 550 one week, it should take 550 grams every week. But it's the box's rough guide basically.
I think your relative, I'm sure this is Tom, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he's got a relatively new tank. These sounds like really, really precise things, which I would say that probably experienced reefers don't worry about being that precise all the time. Yeah. So it's good that you're like trying to be precise, but don't like kill yourself with the stress of it, because the difference is negligible. It won't make a difference. The
one thing in that whole question that pricked my ears up most, or my eyes up, can your eyes be pricked up? Anyway, it says that he mixes it at 23 to 25 degrees C.
Yeah, I've never ever like heated my water ever.
I was going to say, I know you don't do that. I used to, but I don't really care what it gets to, as long as it's just warmer than freezing cold. But I don't bother anymore. Because if it's 10%.
Yeah, mine's usually room temperature, because I'll leave it overnight basically, and it's room temperature, and that's fine. But these are the right ways of doing it. And obviously, if I don't know the size of the tank, if it's like a little nano tank and he's doing a 50%
125 litres. Oh, if you're doing a big change,
then you have to match it. But for a 10% or 20%, you can only change the temperature by 10 or 20%, so it's not going to make a massive difference.
No. But yeah, the boxes, the salt buckets are a rough guide. I think my 25 litre tub, whatever it is, takes 950 grams of salt, tropic marine salt. Whereas if I watch the tub's instructions, it should be 1,000. So there you go.
Saving money.
Exactly. There we go. Those are the end of the member. Are they the end of the member questions? Let me just refresh. I think that's right. Hang on. Yeah, I've done them all. Right, great. Happy days. So now we can talk about. I've got to update my timestamp. 1:12:00 13:00. Hang on a second. 1:13. 10. Right, now 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wait,
we're going to talk about Ryan. We're going.
What about the fish of the week?
Oh, the bloody fish of the week. Oh God!
When you watch this back, you'll see me smiling, because about 20 seconds ago I realized you'd forgotten. I'm like, I'm gonna wait till the last second before I tell you.
Go on then, you bastard. What's your fish of the week?
I'm going for one of my customers...
It's a square spot antheas.
One of my customers ordered a square spot antheas, so I for the fish of the week this week is square spot antheas. They come in 2 different color variations, males and females. The males are way are the really, really bright ones, but the females are still like nicely colored. The females do have the spot on them as well, but it's much more fainter. And they're huge for antheas. They are massive. Like, you're like, I don't care. Just get on with it, Ryan, so that we can move on to the main topic.
Are they difficult to keep?
He says that I'm evil, but he loves it. So I'm giving the listeners what they want.
Are they difficult to keep, Ryan? Do they require several feeds a day?
I think they're hardier than most antheas. I think all antheas need like benefit from multiple like feedings, but they're not like well, they're really hard on purple queens. I think they're much
Right,
easier
okay.
than other Antias, I believe. So yeah, that is the fish of the week.
Excellent. What's the coral of the week? It's
Oh
the
no,
grafted
I'm sorry.
Montipora.
The coral of the week is the grafted Montipora. The end. So
Okay. Tell us about the grafted Monty. Tell us your smug fact about the grafted Monty.
oh, so grafted Montiporas are probably incorrectly named. They are not a graft of two different Montiporas. Now, a long time ago, people used to say that they had grafted them together, and there is a possibility that like 1% this may have happened because people do occasionally graft corals, but 99% of people were lying because grafted Montiporas are not two corals grafted together. They are it is a fluorescent protein infection. So it's a red Montipora with a green fluorescent protein infection. The infection doesn't harm the coral and it makes it look cool, and that is it. But I just remember, like, even I tried it. Loads of people would get a green Montipora and a red Montipora and put them together, and they would never ever fuse. And it's because that isn't how you make a grafted Montipora. The end. There you go.
There you go. Good chat in the chat from Reefkeeper, by the way. Maybe his refractometer is out of calibration. Yeah. So, how are you testing salinity? I'm going to work on the basis it's not a swing arm hydrometer, but yeah, calibrate your what's it called? He's an engineer. That's why he's precise. But yeah, there you go. Right, 1 hour 16. Now, Ryan, we're going to talk about corals that can. What in your what's the title called? 8 ways your saltwater aquarium can kill you. I need to lie down. Ryan, take it away.
Okay. I'll give you a little insight into why I came up with this firstly. Mm-hmm. I'm fine. I don't really particularly care. I've been to the doctor recently for some investigations, and there's some problem with my liver, basically. And I've actually started to wonder if the corals are what is causing it. Because I don't drink or anything, and that is like and then I realized, like, I spend all day with these weird creatures that we should never ever come in contact with, and I wonder if that is what is causing me harm. So that's why I said to Alex we should do a discussion based on how a tank can kill you. So the first way that the corals have actually tried to kill me before, and there is a video on it, is with zoas. So zoas contain a palytoxin. If you look at my channel, there is a video called My Coral Tried to Kill Me, and there is literally like basically a play-by-play, hour by hour of how I am suffering with regards to being exposed to palytoxins. Now, generally speaking, palytoxins are not a problem for most people. That is the third one.
It's this one.
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah, there you go.
You
don't play
panting and breathing heavily.
yeah, that's the end of it. But the and that is sort of there. But basically, I take you through all the different symptoms that I had. Where I remember having like a metal taste in my mouth. I remember I had involuntary like spasms of the arms and things like that, and shaking. Now, the reason that I had that was because I was cutting up zoas with the saw, and obviously, like, with the saw sprays your face and everything. And I probably wasn't using the correct. I was a bit naive, to be honest. This was obviously a little while ago now, but I basically didn't give them the respect that they needed. And I must have consumed some of it, and it made me really, really ill. Now, if they're just sitting in your tank, they're fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Even Alex, you're pretty comfortable touching them and ripping them off the rocks and eating your sandwich afterwards. But I think it's because I spent hours and hours, and I was cutting the rocks, and it's not always easy to cut around like corals, so sometimes it's just easier just to go straight through them. And I do not frag them like that anymore. I would not recommend anyone frags them like that again. But if there's anything that is causing the problem that I have at the moment, that is the thing that I think zoas could be it, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But when you try to explain to a doctor, you're like, I work with a really, really toxic substance. But yes, so that was the first one on my list. The only other reason I thought I'd mention them is because when you see on the news people every so often, every couple of years, it comes up where there's a title that says "My tank tried to kill me," or "My aquarium killed my whole family," or "The dog died."
The dog died. I boiled a rock that was covered in zoas, and turns out that's a bad idea.
It's always so. Boiling a rock, no, cooking a rock is what is a term that is used in the
metaphorical cooking.
Yeah. Which is where you put it in the dark, isn't it? And you're to everything for it to die off.
Feed it with bacteria. Yeah.
Some people actually have cooked their rocks.
Boiling water.
Like they boiled it on the stove, and that is what makes people ill. So
it turns the toxin into a gas. Because you might get a rock. It doesn't matter where the rock comes from. You might get a rock, looks clear, looks like it's got nothing on it, but it'll have something on it, and you might have a polyzoa, or a zoa, or something you don't want on it, basically.
Yeah.
So don't ever boil rock.
So that is the first one. Have you got anything else to say with regards to palytoxins?
No. The only thing I'll say is that people, every now and then, I see someone in the comments or whatever of one of my videos saying, "Oh, there's no way I'd ever keep a reef tank. The coral can kill you." And it's like, you'll see stuff on the news when someone will boil, like the boiling a rock story I remember was this guy's dog started like panting, and his family, they had to go to hospital. They were not well. Okay, so it is not good, but no one died. And I don't know.
Whoa. This is called how your aquarium can kill you.
But exactly. But the reality is, it's not like you are not. This is not like you're keeping a lion in your house or something. This is not that dangerous. And the chances are, you would, if no one had told you that there's a toxin in some corals, and it's not all of them, some zoas, you would never, you could be in the hobby 30 years and not have a Scooby-Doo. So just,
sometimes people will come to the farm and they go, "Oh, I won't buy zoas," and I go, "Well, why?" They go, "Oh, I've got kids," and I'm like, "No, you like it doesn't. It's not. That isn't how it works. If you're going to try and feed the zoas to your kids, by all means, that could be a problem. But
we'll feed the kids to the zoas.
That's true, yeah. But with them just being in the tank itself, that isn't something which is."
To be fair, I would rather someone have that attitude and be a bit cautious, a bit too cautious. It's unnecessary, and you shouldn't take any risks with something you're not comfortable with. But it's better to be too cautious with these sorts of things. But all I'm really saying is, it's not. It's the chance of you dying because you bought a zoa a lot less than you dying because someone stabbed you in the street, for example.
And if you're worried, gloves. And you won't be cutting them up like I cut them up. No one cut them up like that.
No one used the bantle.
No. So
if
I am going to cut them up now, I literally take them outside, and if I'm doing the rock, and use a hammer and chisel, and just smash the rock into pieces, and then like tie the rock up by cutting it on the saw. But I never ever cut through them again. So, but that made me that was probably one of the sickest I've ever been. So. Where I
remember you phoning me and heavy breathing. I normally have to pay for that kind of service. So
that's true. Yeah, it was really bad, but
But you wouldn't go. I was like, go to the bloody hospital. You're not well, and you're like, no, it's fine. I'll probably wake up.
I have this thing where I'm like, I'm not going unless it's absolutely necessary. And because I imagine going, I didn't want to be the person that went to the hospital and they were like, yeah, that you're fine. Yeah, but
people do that all the time. That's what the hospital is there for.
The other thing is, I would have got my parents to take me to the hospital. So I was so ill that I live on my own at the time. I went to my parents' house because I went literally. If I'm worried, I'm so ill, I want to come in case someone needs to take me to hospital. So that tells you how worried I was.
I think there's a phone number you can call if you're not well, and someone will come and take you to hospital. I can't remember what the number is, but
Lucy said it's cute that Alex is who Ryan thinks about when he's dying.
Yeah.
I think I gave you the instructions of what to do with the coral farm.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd pop your clogs, because then I was like, right, I can come and get some of your corals before anyone, because I knew you were going to be. I'd wake up in the morning, I'm like, I know he's dead. Yeah. Your body will sit there for at least a couple of days before anyone figures it out. So I got 2 days to clean out your coral farm. So.
But like, there are some things that I could be considered with regards to overreacting on. This is one which I actually genuinely was. But I think one part of the reason I was worried is because I knew what I was doing. I knew I was having effects of it, and I don't know how long those effects last or if they get worse. So if I'm literally like throwing up constantly, like you think something's wrong.
Yeah, like I'm bleeding out my eyes. This isn't normal.
Yeah. So you start, as I said, I don't know. I look back now and I think I was stupid. I didn't go to the hospital, but I didn't need to as well. So don't be like me. If you have any symptoms of anything, go to hospital. Right. That is the first one. We're done. Okay. The next one I'm going to go for is infection. Now, this is incredibly, incredibly rare. I've only heard of this happening a couple of times. And it's not something which I am worried about. Now, I'll be honest with you, I get cuts on my hands all the time. And then you do get like little infections every now and then. I'm not talking about those ones. I'm talking about like a serious, serious one. Now, this guy, I don't know if you could see his arm in that video.
Like, so this is after his operation. His hand was swollen beforehand.
Yeah.
But that's
so I'm not entirely sure exactly what happened. I remember watching that video. That video has been watched hundreds of thousands of times.
685,000 times. So it's a lot. I forgot to watch it before the stream, and I watched it a while ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember what happened. I think there was some bacteria. I can't remember what it was. Yes. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, nasty.
Now, does that make me wear gloves in the tank? No. That isn't. I don't know how that specific type of bacteria gets into your tank. I'm not sure if it comes from fish or coral.
Mycobacterium marinum.
But I'm assuming it doesn't say how it got in there, because I don't know.
Well, it probably doesn't.
But I think you would be very, very unlucky if you came across that, because if that was happening to everyone, firstly you'd hear about it a lot more often.
Yeah, no one keeps water tanks,
and no one would keep it just in case. Ryan will live stream the next time he gets paradiotoxin poison. Yeah. So, have you got anything that you would like to add with regards to infection?
Don't get an infection. Infections are nasty. Bacteria infections as well. They're no joke. So sepsis is a really common one. And apparently 1 in 4 people who get sepsis die. And it can kill you like that. It's the bacteria is, if you're unlucky enough to get a nasty bacterial infection, they're no joke.
As I said,
that guy survived.
All the time. So I wonder if I should be more worried then, because you get cuts from like accidentally bumping on corals. Like, even, do you know what cuts me the most, more than like anything else? It's, the plastic fish lid thing. What they, the polycarbonate fish, like
okay. Oh, really?
Yeah. As I'm cleaning the glass, like because obviously my hand's on it, it like cuts my wrist and stuff sometimes because
it's resting on your arm.
Yeah, basically, because I'm like, I don't know why it's got this sharp edge on it, and it's not everywhere. It just happens occasionally. So, but yeah, no, I'm not talking about the bit on top. I'm talking about the rim that goes around the edge that the lid sits on top of, which occasionally will like. I'll show you tomorrow. You look confused.
Okay. I'm confused.
But yes, occasionally I'll because. Oh yeah, my lid's different to yours. Yours will be an entire piece, won't it? Whereas mine's got like little compartments in it. So that's how it's happening.
Oh, I see. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, all the time I get sort of cuts and stings and everything. So I do occasionally get like infections on my hands, but there's never been anything as serious as that. So, and hopefully I won't. So that's infections done. Mm-hmm. This is the one that is actually most likely to kill me, I think. Electric shocks. Yeah. Have you ever had a shock from your tank?
A tiny. I feel like there are some times when you put your hand in your tank and you got a cut, and you feel a little. And I'm always thinking. There's been times when I put my hand in, I'm like, oh, that's just the salt water. But I think it's stray voltage. So I felt stray voltage, but I've not had a proper shock. No.
I have had a proper shock from a tank. I can't remember what it was. It was a long time ago. I actually can add to the list because this is potentially something else. But so I think what happened, how you're meant to have a loop on your power cables to stop any water dripping in Just like if you
drip. Yeah. Drip.
So I had 2 issues that day. Firstly, oh no, I know what it was. We had some like metallic plug sockets in my parents' house. They had these like fancy like silver the silver metal ones.
Chrome, yeah.
It corroded, but from being with the salt water, and I went to turn it off, and it gave me like a proper shock. I don't know what type of shock it is. Like it's probably an electrician will go, that's not something that can kill you. But it was like one where you go, like it hurts a lot. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it kept. So my sister, I don't know how old we were, probably 10 or something, 15. She touched a light bulb. She was changing a light bulb.
I've done that too.
I can't remember the details of it, but she had to go to hospital. We had to call an ambulance.
Did you?
Yeah. So 240 volts.
I once accidentally touched a homemade electric fence which was attached to the mains, apparently, and it literally this was in Australia, it like properly knocked me back. It was designed for the dogs to protect. They had parrots, and the dogs would bark at the parrots, so they attached this electric fence to the mains. Well, that's what I don't know, but it's like and obviously I was probably like 15 at the time. But
if you're ever in a field, by the way, when you see an electric fence, it's fun to touch it once. I've never done it since then. But what you can do is there's often long grass knocking around in fields where there's electric fence. Get a piece of long grass, hold it in one hand, touch the electric fence with it, and then move it closer and closer and closer, and you start to feel it clicking, like it'll click your finger. Yeah, it's really cool.
That's probably the water.
But if you die, sorry. That's probably
It's water in the grass that's probably conducting it.
Yeah.
But I think that is the one that I think is most likely to get me to this day. Now, all of my plug sockets in the coral farm are on the ceiling. There is nothing. No. It was interesting. That was one of the things when the coral farm was being designed. I was like, no, I want the plug sockets here at ground level so that I can turn things off. Yeah. And the person who was like a genius with regard, he went, do not do that. Have them all up really high, because at some point it could be condensation, like from humidity dripping down the walls. That happens sometimes. If there was a power cut and the ventilation system doesn't reset automatically, the walls almost within an hour start to like leak. So it shows how well the ventilation keeps up with that.
There was I was about to say something, I forgot what it was. It was probably very insightful, probably quite funny. We'll just all laugh at it.
Like you are usually, yeah.
What was I God, how old am I? Am I 70? Anyway, carry on and I'll remember it.
So I'll be honest with you, sometimes I think you become a little bit relaxed. And
too relaxed. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Sorry. I'm going to forget if I don't say now.
Right.
So when I set up my Red Sea tank last year, I told myself I'm going to do everything properly. And I did. I took my time with it. But one of the things that I told myself I was going to do that I didn't really do was I was going to put drip loops in everywhere.
Yeah.
And I haven't really done that. And I've got my every now and then I get comments on this. I've got my a few of my power supplies are at the bottom of my cabinet. So that's where water is gonna go. So it is a risk. So I've not really done drip loops. Should do drip loops. And sometimes some of my cabinets in the past have been just a mess of like a snake's nest. They're like an absolute nightmare. And the other thing with that is if you've got cables crossing all over the place, sometimes when you go to pull one plug out, it half pulls out another plug or another socket or something, and then you get arcing. And I've had times when I've been sat in my living room and you can hear like and you're like, holy shit, I need to sort this now. So do plug management properly.
With regards to getting relaxed, I think there are times where, and this is terrible, where, like, for example, I might have my hands in the tank and I'll take them out and I go, I just need to turn the protein skimmer off, and I'll just reach up and turn it off, even though I've got wet salt water on my hands.
Yeah, I know.
That you would never do that in the house, would you? There is no situation, and look, it's not like a regular occurrence, but I have definitely done it before, where it starts to overflow and the skimmer's like, all the skimate's about to go back into the system. So I'll quickly climb onto the stool and turn off. That, I think, is the most likely thing to get me. Again, an electrician in the comments will tell me if that's the sort of thing that could kill you or not. But I don't know. But all of my bad habits are coming out now, aren't they? So that's the one I actually would say I would fear the most.
When you fear.
The next one is fire. Our tanks are absolutely a fire hazard.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about it. They are a fire hazard. And I, as you just said, with the arcing, but something I did do once is I didn't put a drip loop in, and it was in an extension cord, and it was so bad. The extension cord was literally had like started to melt. You know, where it goes all charred.
Jesus, yeah.
This was when I was like 18. This was probably 17 years ago. I didn't know what I was doing back then. Look how many mistakes I've made over the years. So people think to themselves like, oh, you know, Ryan, he knows a little bit. Yeah, but trust me, it took me a long time to get to this stage and a lot of failures. But it was literally had water in it. Like you could pick it up and turn it upside down and water ran out of it. That's how bad it got.
Yeah.
So fire is definitely a risk. And as you said, with plug management, it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah.
So have you got anything to say with regards to fire?
I did have. Yeah, I had an issue once that it tripped the electrics in my house. Fortunately, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I had an algae refugium, a light for a refugium that was hanging relatively low. It was still above the sump, so it's not a problem. Doesn't matter, right? But I had filter sock as well, and the filter sock, the water level was way away from the light. It wasn't a problem, but the filter sock clogged up because I didn't change it for ages, and so the water level in the filter sock raised, and I can't remember exactly how it happened, but it got to the point where it was touching it touched the wire from my light.
Yeah.
And so it tripped everything in the house. And I turned all the plugs back on, and it tripped off again. I didn't know what it was, so I had to turn everything off one by one, and then work it out. And I worked out that it was water getting on because the water level had changed in the filter sock basically, and that was it was fine, didn't cause any problems, but it was scary because it was like if that had happened when I was away, or if the electrics didn't trip, because it was a brand new house, it was a new build.
Yeah.
So like I don't know what my current house is not new, so I don't know what the electrics are like, and maybe they're not as good. You know, so yeah.
Now I've never heard of this happening, but I'm almost certain this is definitely a fire risk. On top of your lights, you have a little fan, and the fan is obviously designed to cool the lights down. But what it does is it sucks all the air in from above, which is what a fan's designed to do. Yeah. And after a year,
through the device,
after a year, that filter is usually clogged. So on the coral, sometimes it's clogged with salt creep. Like if your tank is, if it often is, and I am sure that you're going to check now, aren't you? I am almost certain that in itself is a fire hazard because it's an electrical device, and think of all the dust and stuff. That's like tinder. It's like
Well,
I don't know. I've never heard of it happening, but it's as far as I'm concerned, that's a risk.
So my kettle's fine. Dust doesn't catch fire. I don't. Any powder can actually explode, to be fair, but if it has to be separated and a flame go into it. But dust, you're not going to catch fire. It might if it clogs up your fan, and then that overheats or whatever, then maybe. But I think that's unlikely. But yeah, you should clean. The trouble, what you should really do is clean things like fans on lights, little and often. Because if you clean them every 6 months, or every 5 years, more likely, exactly, then suddenly they'll be a lot more efficient, and they'll create more light, and they'll work better and all that sort of stuff. Whereas if you just do it bit by bit, it never drops off and then spikes again. So you should. But then, who does that?
I wonder how many people who have just got up and looked at that. If you have got up and looked, or you're going to consider looking, like after watching, let us know in the chat.
3 inches of dust on your lights.
Yeah. Because look, the coral farm is obviously a very it's not a clean environment, if you see what I mean. There's always like things being fragged and dust and salt, especially. I get through a whole bag of salt basically, pretty much. It's like 78. I don't know why I said it. It's probably about 80% of a bag of salt every single water change that I do. So every bag of salt I open, when you first open it, when you pour it into the bucket, so there's a lot of like salt and stuff in the air in the coral farm, potentially clogging things as well. So I'm sure you're doing an inspection tomorrow.
So I've every now and then I will clean a light. Not very often, to be fair. Probably every few years. And the dust is like it's like claggy dust, if you know what I mean. So it's not like you don't just blow it away.
It doesn't come off, does it? It's like
no,
it's
it's
like
got like salt and water. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's awful stuff. I hate it.
I've noticed also that the grates corrode, so they must be like resistant to salt water. I'll show you tomorrow. Like the top bit of the filter is metal. It's like a metal mesh, and it corrodes. So
yeah, but I think yours is so. Well, that would yours is quite a humid environment, isn't it?
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's
pretty the ones under where there's a light between two tanks. If you see what I mean?
Yes, yeah. I don't even know. I can't even get to those, so I don't know what they'll be like.
I think, yeah. But I think they'll be powder coated or something like that. But they should be fairly resistant. But yeah, it's metal at the end of the day, and it's salt water.
Yeah,
not a good combination.
Okay, so the next one is venom. So there are again. I don't think any of these fish have actually been well, I think one of these fish has killed people. Which is the lionfish, but there are a whole range of fish that are in the hobby, whether it's stingrays or lionfish or leaf fish. There's a few different ones which have the ability to sting you and cause. I know fox faces have a sting, but it's meant to be relatively mild.
Yeah.
So much so that, as I told you the other day, someone literally picked one up out, not with a net, just with their hand, did not care. Scooped it out of a bucket and put it. I was like, "You're mental."
I wouldn't do that, but the chance of getting hurt by a fox face are pretty slim. Cue someone in the chat saying, "I got stung by a fox face."
Lionfish, however, I swear to God, they hunt you. You put your hand in. Like most fish are frightened of you. Lionfish, well, my one wasn't.
Your prey.
It used to actively come over to like investigate what I was doing. So it didn't like chase you, not like a clownfish. That should have been on the list of things that can kill you. Clownfish,
yeah,
because they're vicious. But yeah, there's a range of different things in the hobby that have the ability to harm you. I think lionfish are the ones that have killed people before, but I think you might have to be sensitive to a lionfish sting, like allergic to it. But how do you know you're allergic to it?
Yeah,
because most people aren't going around getting stung by them.
Yeah, give it a little cuddle, find out.
So, with lionfish, there seems to be a range of pain that people say. Some people say it's absolutely excruciating, like unbelievable. I'm sure I read somewhere that it's like one of the worst pains you can feel, and then other people are like, "Oh, it's a bee sting. It doesn't hurt that bad at all."
I bet it'll vary, person to person. So, do you know what a weaver fish is? A weaver?
No.
It's a tiny little sand-dwelling fish. It's like 2 or 3 inches long, but it's got little spikes on its back that are for defending itself. I trod on one in a beach in France when I was like 10 or 15 or something. The most pain I've ever experienced, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's like agony. So yeah, some do.
Try again. I'll see you and I'll raise you with when I got stung by the jellyfish in Australia. That was the most pain. Anyway,
did someone piss on you?
No. Why were you? If you were there, would you have offered?
100% straight away. Yeah, just in case,
just to fulfill one of your fantasies.
Have you ever heard of a reef stonefish?
I know what a stonefish is. I don't know about if there's a difference between a reef stone. I've scuba, like you see them when you're scuba diving.
So, excuse me, I'm tired today.
Those really Googled you.
They will, yeah. So I googled the most venomous or deadly fish, and they're ugly bastards. These supposedly are the most dangerous.
Yeah, you see them in the wild, but the main issue with them when you're scuba diving is they look like a rock, and if you know what to look for, you kind of know but they're pretty well camouflaged.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah.
So you could accidentally go right down to like touch to grab a rock and grab one potentially, but most people step on them, I think, in rock pools by accident.
You don't want to do that.
No,
I would advise against that.
Right, I need to speed up because we've got 15 minutes left, don't we?
Go on.
So this one is unlikely to affect most people, but I know something that did affect, and that's tank failure. So one of my customers had a 3,000 liter tank, which like properly burst in their kitchen. You would have heard this before. Now, if you were standing in front of that when it properly burst, you would have
3,000 liters. That's a big tank.
That is a big tank. It was a massive, and it wasn't like 3,000 liters wide. It was 3,000 liters tall. So
really?
It was yeah, it was a tall tank rather than a long tank.
Was that acrylic?
No, because it cracked. So it was glass.
Wow. Okay.
So now that burst, and when that failed like properly. Now, if you were in front of that, you would have had a bad day.
Yeah.
Luckily, it happened in the middle of the night. But the noise that it made, because he had a 3-year-old daughter at the time as well. Imagine if
she'd gone down to look at the tank.
Yeah. Now it was so loud, it woke him up in the middle of the night. The crash.
I bet it was like an explosion. Yeah,
basically. So 3 tons of water and glass.
Yeah.
So,
a glass on a tank that holds 3,000 water is going to be thick and heavy.
Yeah. So. Well, not thick enough, unfortunately.
Well, no, apparently not.
But that seriously went. So, and it was the same as with that one in this is an extreme example, but in the hotel where it blew the front doors off. If anyone was in that definitely would have killed them.
Yeah, the one in Berlin.
That was just lucky because that happened in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So the other ones are sort of like smaller ones. I once took a heater out of this was actually the day I got my first tank. I took the heaters out to test them, that they were working because it was a secondhand tank, not realizing they had to be kept in the water, and they exploded in my hand.
I've done that. Oh, not in my hand, but I've done that when I've drained water down. So you expose the heater, forget to turn the heater off, or don't realize you got to, and then when you fill it back up again, the heater is trying to heat the entire room, so it's full hot temperature.
Yeah,
and it touches cold water, hot and cold, pop.
It's surprisingly. It was surprising how quickly it happened. I don't remember it. It was a long time ago now, but it almost was like turn it on a minute later.
Yeah.
So that was. I just got my first tank. It was like 1 a.m. because I had picked up at the wrong time, thinking I could do this. Got back, needed a heater to heat the tank for the fish, and it exploded. And I was like, "What am I going to do?" But they were freshwater fish, so they were fine until the next day when the fish shop opened.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But that's another way for it to cause you harm. And the last 2 are sort of, semi-joking, but mainly actually, but to some extent they actually are true to an extent. One of them is stress. Our tanks are far more stressful than people think. People go, "Oh, it must be lovely having a tank. It must be so relaxing."
Oh, no.
There is nothing relaxing about having a reef tank, in my opinion. So, to some extent, like looking at them maybe for 5 minutes.
But how often do you actually sit down and go, "I'm going to look at my tank now"? Whenever I look at my tank, I'm like, "Right, what's dying?" And that's what everybody does. Yeah, I very rarely take the time to just think, "I'm going to enjoy it." Sometimes I do, to be fair, but especially when I'm taking photos and videos. But
you sort of live with this base level of anxiety, I think.
Oh yeah.
And I think, and you get used to it. And the more, like, you almost have this thing in your brain now where it's like, okay, what's going to happen today? Or like when I go in the coral farm, I'm like, is everything alive today? Yep, it's a good day today.
Yeah,
it's
exactly. Yeah.
So,
or you'll hear a noise that's different to the normal noise, and you're like, "Oh God, what is it?" Running water is the worst one. Like, normally it's just like a filter clogged or whatever, or your overflow is gurgling. But when I hear that, I'm like, "Oh, please, no, don't be all on my floor." Like,
it's the smell of burning, which is one of the ones that I remember, and that's when if your sump is drained too much and you have a heater in there, it starts to burn. Normally they have like algae or something on them.
Yeah, okay.
Burn, and it smells before, especially the titanium ones. They obviously don't explode.
Yeah,
it starts to smell of burning, and I'm like, "Oh, that's something." That's when you see me move the fastest. I'm like, turn everything off. So that's I would say it's probably not as stress-free as people think. And the more the more stuff, the more expense you put in it, the more stressful it becomes. I believe. And the final one, and this is the most likely way you'll get killed, is from your partner. Because reef keepers are difficult to live with. Mm-hmm. We spend a lot of money on the hobby. Usually You'd be surprised how many people tell me that I love it when people come to the farm. So someone came to the farm on Friday and they told me that the fish, their wife only just realized this new emperor angel, which was like an expensive fish, a big fish. She only realized yesterday or a few days ago that it was in there, and it'd been in there for 4 weeks. And she went, "Where did that fish come from?" But all the time people say, if my wife knew what I was spending, they wouldn't be happy.
Yeah.
So that
but do you know, there's because we were talking about this earlier, that you get blasé about price when you've been in the hobby for a while, because it's like when you're first in the hobby, you're like, oh, I don't want to spend 20 quid on a coral. Oh no.
Yeah.
But after a while, you're like, this is who I am. So I don't even check the price half the time. I just like, there you go, put it on the credit card. I'll deal with it in 2 years' time when the bailiffs knock on my door.
Yeah.
So, but I've forgotten again what I was going to say. What's wrong with me, Brian?
I can't remember why we had that conversation.
We were talking about the next week's subject, but
yes, we were talking about it. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah,
we're talking about price.
While you're thinking, just so you know, next week's subject, we're doing one about what makes a good fish shop, basically.
Yeah.
And we were discussing price, because price. I'm interested in how much price plays a factor, because a lot of shops get their products from the same place, which is TMC, for example. So if everyone's getting most of the same product from TMC, what's the difference between a good and bad fish shop? But we'll talk about that next time.
Fine. I'm
you remember?
Yeah. I'm tired today, so we'll wrap up soon. I've had 2 days of manual labour, basically. So
we didn't even do the news, did we? But you said there's no news.
We're gonna do the news. There is one piece of news, but it's just not much, and that's the last way people will you can die from your fish tank.
Correct. There you go.
All right. Well, in that case, we'll do the news. And there is one story in the news today. There's just everywhere is dead, completely silent. There's nothing going on. But, and this isn't really, is this really news? There's a new alkalinity tester coming soon at some point. Maybe, we don't know when. So this was, Parker's Reef made a video on, it's called the Kamoa KHU, but I Googled it and it says it's called the Kamoa KHU Reef Master. And it is he says, like, the title of the video is, it's the world's smallest automated alkalinity tester. And you can see in the top left corner how big it is. It's, I don't know, size bigger than your hand, but it's pretty small. Similar kind of size to the first Reef Factory KH Keeper. And that was too small because it was too fiddly, but this looks a little bit less fiddly, to be fair. And it works differently to most of the alkalinity testers, because it doesn't have a pH probe and measures the difference in acidity. It has a color meter, like a Hannah checker. So it's just a fancy color checker, basically.
Oh, so that must be the same as the GHL ones. Oh no, that's done by pH, isn't it? Yes.
Their pH as well, yeah. So
this is a different method then of checking.
I think the Trident. I think I'm right in saying the Trident does is a colorimeter, whatever it's called. But so yeah, it's a different method. It doesn't say the price. It doesn't say when it's going to be released. It doesn't say anything really. I say it doesn't say anything. The video might do. I've just got the description in front of me. But yeah, there's a new one coming soon at some point. Someone, go on.
I'm not excited.
I'm not excited.
No, I'm not excited. if there was some new way, if it was some new invention, like a new way of doing it, by all means, I'm excited. Because if someone can nail it down, it'd be brilliant. But there are so many issues with all of the, like, not the day one, long-term issue. Things just don't quite work as they should usually with all of these testers, I've found. So
if it's cheap, that's good. But if it's anywhere near because most of the alkalinity testers are about 800 quid, which is a lot of money. Yeah. So if it was less than half the price, that's cool. But it won't be, because they've still got to have dosing pumps and all this sort of stuff. So if it was cheap, it would be good. But if it's anywhere near that price, I wouldn't be interested in it, to be honest. I wouldn't buy it anyway, I don't think. But if it was like 500-600 quid, that's too much. It needs to be cheap, but I don't think it will be.
A Hannah checker is, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the most important pieces of equipment for someone to have in this hobby, and it's really easy to use. And although there is a cost attached to it because it's more expensive than a test kit, it is worth its weight in gold. And do you agree?
Yes, because they make it easy.
Yeah, and it takes
And you're more likely to
a minute, which means you're more likely to do it. And making things easy and making you more likely to do it means you have more success, which means you're more likely to stay in the hobby.
The reason I use Hannah checkers is not because it saves time. It's because it reads the color for me, and don't you dare say I'm colorblind.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But it reads the color for me, so
I would have missed that.
I know. So with the ones that I use, alkalinity is really good for, just because it's quick, to be fair. Yeah. But the ones I use it for are nitrate and phosphate. And if you have manual nitrate and phosphate test kits, it's sometimes difficult to know the difference. What time do you call this? It's almost 9 o'clock, and I'm getting my first beer.
It's because obviously she hasn't put the clocks back, so she's now thinking it's 8 o'clock. So this is when you're meant to get your beer.
She's failing her wife improvement plan, is what's going on. But yeah, so with the nitrate and phosphate Saltwater test kits, for example, which are really good and you should be using them anyway, it's difficult to tell. Like I've had times when I've got it'll turn it red. Nitrate and phosphate turns red, whatever it is. It'll turn it red, and you got to read shades of red and pink. And I've had times where I've been like, it could be anywhere from the second lowest to the second highest. And all that really matters is, have I got some nitrate? Is it between 5 and 20? That's fine. But it bothers me because there'll be time I'm looking at it because I want to see trends. Like if I look back at my data when I've done it before, I'll be like, well, I recorded 5 last time and now it's 20, but did I read it correctly, or was it? So that's why I use Hannah checkers for those, because it gives you a reading.
Well, I've realized something. There are people that when I first opened the coral farm, there's actually quite a significant amount of people that used to come to the coral farm all the time. They're just no longer in the hobby anymore, and whether it's because of the expense, which will probably be a big part of it, but also whether they just were unsuccessful. Some of these people were relatively new, and one of the things from like serious reefs things, most people don't make it past a year. So people that were coming to the farm 4 years ago, in theory, 90% of those people shouldn't be here anymore, according to what they said. So, and when I heard that, I was like, actually, there are loads of customers that just don't come anymore. So, anything you can do to make it easier and increase your success in the hobby will basically essentially keep you in it.
Yeah, they're expensive though, aren't they? Hannah nitrate.
I think they're 70, aren't they?
I think they're more than that. I think they're more like, I know they're 80. It's not
they used to be 60. They've definitely gone up.
Yeah, I thought they were higher than that. But that's the thing. If you need in inverted commas 3 of them, alkalinity, nitrate and phosphate, it's 250 quid.
I don't recommend. Phosphate and alkalinity. Yeah, I recommend. I don't recommend it for nitrate. Our opinions. Yeah, we differ on this, because with nitrate, you just need to look at it and go, is there some that's not? It's basically, if it's like as blood, like it's not red, like it's really, really dark purple. If it's really, really, really dark purple, you have a problem, and if it's completely clear, you have a problem. But if it's anywhere between that, you're all right.
Fair enough.
Is that so? I'm not worried about trend.
The ELOS, is it high range? ELOS high range phosphate checker. If you want a manual one, they're actually quite expensive, but that is the best in inverted commas phosphate checker, manual phosphate checker. If you can't afford test kit.
Okay, yeah.
If you can't afford a Hannah, I would go for ELOS high range.
You also get them on eBay all the time, I think. And I think East Coast Reefer said you get them.
Hannah checkers 45 quid second hand. Yeah, I don't know what they're like over time actually, in terms of the if they lose, because LEDs lose color over the time. I would guess because those lights are only on for a very short period of time that they don't lose color, so it doesn't fade in terms of calibration. Yeah. But you can buy calibration kits to test it. So yeah, by all means, second hand.
You can't calibrate it afterwards, though, can you? If it's out,
you can't calibrate it. No, you just throw it.
What's the point?
Well, at least you know, I suppose. But yeah, no, I wouldn't have a problem buying second-hand Hannah checkers. And if it's 40 quid, and often you'll find one that's 6 months old because someone's got fed up with the hobby because they boiled a rock and it killed their dog. So
yeah, true.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna be more awake next week. That's a promise.
Yes, we did well. It's like 10 o'clock for us. We're like jet lagged, aren't we?
That's true. I've had it. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to start doing that. Boo hoo. So we will be back next week when we're going to be talking about what makes a good local fish shop.
True.
So So we will see. Oh, Ryan, you're about to say something.
No, I was just looking. I was looking at the eBay order to see if there's any left going. There's one left, but it's got 26 seconds. So you're going to have to be quick if you want that one.
Right.
So no, that's it. So I get distracted, don't I?
You do. We all do. Catch you next week.
See you later. Bye.